Hi, everybody. This is a history lesson about string, specifically the oldest piece of string that has ever been found. So, to talk about this string, we need to go way, way back in history. We need to go back to the time when Neanderthals were still alive. Remember that those are one of the other types of humans that have existed. They're the ones that people tend to picture as being not so smart, which might not actually be true. And they're the ones that existed at the same time as Homo sapiens, the type of humans that we are. And because they existed in the same place at the same time for a while, we know that Homo sapiens, what we are, and Neanderthals did some interbreeding. They had babies together, which means that a whole lot of humans that are alive now have just a wee little bit of Neanderthal DNA in themselves. Like, I definitely do, which is really interesting to me. So, this new discovery helps prove that one, Neanderthals were way smarter than people think that they are, and two, that the work of making rope, of making string, is actually way older than we thought it was, too. So, this new discovery happened about a month ago, and it happened in France. So, some archaeologists were digging around in a site with a bunch of Neanderthal stuff, and they were expecting to find things like stone tools, because we know that they used stone tools, and they were expecting to find some bones and things like that. But what they found is also this teeny tiny scrap of string. This teeny tiny scrap of string that they found, I'll link a picture for you to see down in the comments or in the description. This teeny tiny scrap of string isn't even a centimeter long. So a centimeter is about this much, like about as wide as a finger. And this little scrap of string is not even a centimeter long. So they looked at it under microscopes, and mad props to whoever pulled that out of the ground and realized it wasn't just a tiny piece of junk, because this wee little scrap of string is a big deal. Under a microscope, you can see that this wee scrap of string is made out of three strands plied together. So think about when we do the work in our classroom where we're learning how to spin with wool. We do one strand and then another strand, and we hold them together and twist them back the other way using the drop spindle, and that gives us our yarn that we can use. That process is called plying, where you take multiple strings, twist them all one direction, and put them together and twist them back the other way. It's how you make good, strong yarn or string. Here is a little look at some that we made in the classroom just as a reminder. You can see that there are two twists running together there, and that's what makes it strong. For the string that they found in this Neanderthal area, it had three strands and then they were twisted. And it wasn't made out of the wool of an animal, it was made out of the inner bark of a tree. So, some of you may have talked with me about the cedar tree, which is one of my favorite trees before, and how the inner bark of the cedar tree can be used for weaving and things like that. They haven't exactly figured out which tree the string that the Neanderthals used came from, but they're pretty sure it was a conifer, so a fir tree, a tree with needles, and they're sure that it was the inner bark. So this wee little scrap of string, less than a centimeter, made out of three strands of inner bark of a tree, twisted one way and then twisted the other way back together, actually is a huge deal for the world because the dating on this piece of string shows that it is between 41 and 52,000 years old. So when we look at our time right now, we're in the year 2020. That means 2020 years ago was the year zero. And then before that, you go back into the BCs. 2,000 years gets us to the BCs. And the little teeny tiny scrap of string is between 41 and 52,000 years old. This is enormously, insanely, massively old. It was also made by these people that we sometimes assume were not very intelligent. And it's turning out that every time scientists find new things, it shows that Neanderthals were actually pretty smart and probably about the same smartness as our way, way back Homo sapien ancestors that were living at the same time. And this is more evidence of that, more evidence that they were pretty smart and they knew what was up. They knew that they had to harvest the inner bark of this tree. And about the only times of year that that's useful is the late spring and early summer. So they had to do enough experimentation to figure out which tree you get the bark from that works the best. They had to figure out when to harvest that bark. They had to figure out that in order to make it strong, you can't just twist it. You have to twist it and then twist another one and then twist another one, all in the same direction, and then stick them together and twist them the other way to lock the twist in. That's big stuff. That is brain power. It took work and experimentation and trying over and over again to get that. And these people did. And here's the thing. If you find a wee tiny scrap of string buried in the fossil record, it doesn't mean that these people created a wee scrap of string, because barely anything gets preserved. What it means is that these people were making string. And if they were making string, they were almost definitely doing stuff with the string, like making ropes and nets and bags, and maybe even like tying together things to make buildings and maybe rafts, and who knows what else they were doing. They could have been making snares, those little animal traps that use string to like grab the thing's leg and pick them up. Probably a lot was going on using string, and it is a big deal that it was that old. So yeah, this is a really short history lesson because we don't know that much about the string yet. They just found it. Hopefully they'll keep digging and find some more. Hopefully they'll be able to examine it and figure out what tree it was from. But check it out. Oldest string in the world has been found so far. Maybe we'll find something older. And it was made by Neanderthals, these way, way back humans that interbred with the type of humans we are, that are definitely not as dumb as people used to think they were. Feel free to follow up however you like. Maybe go look this up, type in world's oldest string into your search engine and go read about it. Maybe go investigate other stuff that's in France that people find when they do archaeological digs, because there's a lot. Maybe you want to see if you have supplies around your house to try and make a little bit of string. Maybe you want to take a piece of yarn you have, take it apart and examine like how it was put together. Go investigate. Have a lovely time. I miss you all and happy learning.